Hi everyone, and welcome back to First the Coffee Crochet. So today we're going to be going over how to make a plant pot cover. Now this is using a stitch that I don't know if I made up or what, because I cannot for the life of me find anybody that has done it. And we are going to call this the modified spiked half double crochet, because that's the closest thing I can come up with for a name. And that'll be used on the sides. What's nice about this stitch, it stands all on its own. There is no falling over. It just holds itself up. So with these, we're going to start at a base, and it's going to depend on the plant pot size that you're doing. So in the tutorial, we're going to go over a smaller one for the base here. And this is a 4 1/4 inch terracotta pot. The smaller one is. There's one less row or one less round on this bottom than this one, which is a 6-inch pot that I got off of Amazon. When you're making these and we're doing the base, you just want to sit your bottom in whatever the base is that you have your plant sitting on. I wouldn't use an open base like this, because it'll get this all wet and nasty when you water your plant. So I would always have something in the bottom of it to help protect your yarn. But you'll just sit that in there, make sure that your base is covered. And it will still fan out a little bit, as you can see here. This is where we ended the base on this one. And it's still fanned out just a little bit. The main thing you want to make sure of is that it will go around the top of your pot. Now, if you have a pot that is a little smaller and you ended up making this bigger round, nice thing is, it holds itself up. So that's not a big deal. And again, with how much yarn you need, it's going to depend on the size pot you're covering. So for this pattern, I did use the Bernat Maker yarn. Well, these were the Maker Home Deck yarn. They've remade it now. Now it's just Maker. I don't know if they have these particular colors in the remake, but these are available right now on Amazon in the old Maker Home Deck. I can say doing the 6-inch pot, I was able to get 2 of these out of 1 skein of this. You'll also need a 7mm crochet hook, and you'll probably want a yarn needle. With this yarn, I like to use a tapestry needle to try to get it to go through itself, just to help secure it a little better. Now, as always, there is a written pattern for this available on my website, and I'll leave a link for that down in the description below. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so to start out, we're going to create our slip knot. And for our foundation chain, we're going to make a chain of 4. And then we're just going to use a slip stitch to join the last and first stitch together here to make a ring that we're going to work out of for our first round. Okay, so now we have a ring. For round 1, we're just going to chain 1, and we're going to do 8 half double crochets into this ring. So for that, we're just going to yarn over, insert a hook into the ring, yarn over and pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. So we'll just do that 7 more times. Alright, so now we have 8 half double crochets for our first round. So we're just going to use a slip stitch to join this last stitch and the first stitch together. And that'll complete our first round. So for round 2, we're going to be doing 2 half double crochets in each stitch all the way around. So we're going to chain 1 at the start of this round, and starting in that first stitch, we're going to do 2 half double crochets. And just remember that's not a stitch, that's our slip stitch that we used to join the first round. So now we should have 16 stitches going all the way around, and we're just going to join our first and last stitch using the slip stitch. Okay, for round 3, what we'll be doing is we'll be starting again in the first stitch. So we're going to chain 1, and then in that first stitch we're going to do 1 half double crochet. In the next stitch we're going to do 2 half double crochets. And we're just going to alternate that all the way around. 1 half double crochet in the next stitch, 2 half double crochets in the next stitch. So 1 half double crochet, and then 2 half double crochets in the following stitch. Great, so now we'll use a slip stitch to join the last and first stitch here together. Now for round 4, we're going to chain 1, and starting in that first stitch, we're going to do 2 half double crochets. In the next stitch, we're going to do 1 half double crochet. And again in the following stitch after that, another half double crochet. Now in the next stitch we're going to do 2 half double crochets. We're going to do a half double crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. So that's all this round is 2 half double crochets in one stitch, and then 1 half double crochet in each of the following 2 stitches. And then at the end of this round, we're just going to use a slip stitch to join the first and last stitch. And so for this one, this is where we're going to stop. You can keep increasing, and I have the directions on my website in the written pattern for additional rounds if you need to do that. But for this one, we're just doing this 4.5 inch terracotta. So just to show you here, we can just see that the bottom is just fitting. And as we go out, this is going to fan out just a little bit. So for our next round, this is where we're going to start our body as we bring it up. So we're going to turn this around on the back because we are going to be working in the third loop. Now, if we're working in the third loop, normally we'd work through these 2 stitches here that create the V. The third loop is when you turn it and you see this little stitch right here. So these are the normal 2 we go under, but we're going to be working in this one. So for the first round of the body, we're going to chain 1, just turn it over here. And when you're working in the first stitch, it can be a little harder because we got this slip stitch kind of taking up space, but this is our normal V right here. You turn it, this first little loop going down is what we'll be working into. And we're just going to be doing single crochets. So you're just going to insert your hook under that third loop. And we're going to yarn over, pull up a loop, and then pull through both loops. So again, we'd normally go through these 2. We're going to turn it on the back, and we see this third loop here. So we're just going to go into that, yarn over and pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through both. So we're just going to do this in each of these stitches all the way around. In that third loop, just do a single crochet. All right, now that we've come all the way around, probably have to just turn this a bit. Now we're just going to join the last stitch in the first stitch here using a slip stitch. Okay, for round 2 of our body, we're just going to chain 1, and these are just going to be regular single crochets all the way around, and we'll be starting in this first stitch. So you just go under the 2 loops like we normally would. Nothing fancy with this round. And just like before, join the first and last stitch with a slip stitch on this round. Okay, so starting for round 3, this is where we're going to go into our modified spiked half double crochet. Now for spiked half double crochets or any spike stitches, you usually work in rows below your current stitch. Could be 1 row, 2 rows, 3 rows, 4 rows. It all depends on the pattern. For this one, it'll just be the 1 row below. But the modified part is we're going to start in our stitch that we're working in our current row. So if we're looking here, we have our first stitch. We're going to chain 1 to start off this round. We're going to go into our first stitch just like we normally would. We're going to insert our hook, yarn over, and pull up a loop. So you'll have 2 loops on your hook. Now this is the stitch below. Now we're going to go into that stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through all 3. And that's what we're going to do for each stitch all the way around. Just go into your next stitch like you normally would, yarn over and pull up a loop, then go into the stitch 1 row below, yarn over and pull up a loop. Just do that in each stitch all the way around. Now if you actually know the name of this stitch and I've just overlooked it, well, let me know down in the comments below, because I have been searching for weeks on end and I cannot find anything. And I've got more patterns coming out using this stitch, so it'd be nice to have a name for it if it has one that's out there somewhere. Once you get the hang of doing this stitch, it's actually really easy. It's kind of like one of those mindless stitches you can do, especially in the round. Okay, so this is the last one of those stitches in that round. And just like every other round, we're going to use a slip stitch to join this last one and this first one. And it's good to just pull these tight as you're doing these going up. So now we're going to keep doing this stitch, but we don't have the easy to see single crochet rows down here. Just like before, we're going to chain one. We're going to insert a hook into the current stitch, and we'll be starting in that first one. Yarn over and pull up a loop. Now we'll be going into the stitch one row below. How to find that on these is you'll see when you pull these stitches, you got this first bar here and this second bar. So you got these first two, you can see where they're going into this little stitch right here that we worked in before. And that's where we're going to go in to yarn over and pull up another loop. Yarn over and pull through all three just like we've been doing. And just keep doing that in each stitch. So into our next stitch, pull up a loop, find these two bars here. Where they're going into is the stitch one row below. Just go into that. And this is just going to be what you're going to do for the rest of this pot holder. You just do this until you have a tall enough pot holder to cover the plant pot you're wanting to use it on. And sometimes it'll keep folding up like that. Just push it back out. This is our bottom. This is our inside that you can be lazy like me and just leave that down there and put your little holder over it, and you'll never see it again unless you pull the pot out. Because let's face it, weaving in ends is not fun. If I can cut corners on that, you can bet I will. And as you do more rounds on this, it'll stop folding in like this, so you can keep pushing it back, but it'll eventually get there. Okay, and just like every other row, we're just using a slip stitch to close off these rows before we start a new round row. You know what I mean. So just pull those tight as you do them, because it will create a little bit of a border that you'll see, but it's really not too bad. I'll show you. Here I have another one. You can see the border going up there, but it kind of blends in. I think unless you're a crocheter, you're not really going to notice it too much. But the tighter you pull that, the less it stands out. Okay, so you'll just keep doing this same repeat round all the way up until you find the height that you need to cover up your plant pot. Okay, as you start to get closer to what looks like the height of your pot, it's important to take whichever pot you're going to size this for and just put it in here to see how much more you might need. So I'm going to take this little 4 1/4 inch terracotta pot. Just pull this up on the sides. So looking at this, I'm probably going to do another row. And then that should be tall enough to cover the whole pot. Okay, and just do a slip stitch there to join that. And now we will fit it again. There we go. No, I think I'll do one more row around just because I want to hide all of that terracotta. All right, that is pretty good. Covers up all the terracotta, so that's as high as I need to go. Just for comparison for you, this is the 6-inch pot. So bigger the pot, higher you're probably going to have to go up unless you have a small squatty pot. So once you're done with this, you can just cut this off, fasten it off, and then just weave in your ends. Or you can be super lazy like me and just tuck it down the side. We won't tell anybody, will we? Because sometimes I just like to be lazy. Okay, so if you like this tutorial, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And be sure to hit that notification bell so you can be notified as new ones come out. Thanks for watching.